Today, we are super fortunate to have a great friend, a great partner of our organization join us to share with you some very, very valuable information on how you're still able to connect with businesses and corporations and doing your work virtually. What does that look like? And obviously, she comes from Kent State University, from academia, from diversity and inclusion, and totally is able to give us that kind of other side that sometimes as small business owners we don't know. So there's a lot of tricks to the trade that I am definitely going to be taking notes on today on how we help small business owners work and do business with a lot of these larger entities that want to connect, that really want to connect with us and want to do work with us. And so I'm super excited, Veronica. Thank you so much, so much for being willing to be with us today. I know you have a lot of goodies for us, so I will stop talking and hand it over to you. Welcome.
Right. Thank you so much. Hola. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get started with our presentation here. It is a pleasure to share with you. I am a fan. I try to take part in every opportunity to be with you and share in this space of diversity and inclusion. You're looking at a picture of New York City, but I want you to think bigger than New York City. I want you to think the world. And that's because when we're working in virtual environments, the world is our oyster. There's no limits. So when we're thinking about the times that we're in now, we should be thinking about how much broader our expansion can be, how much broader our reach can be. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're talking strategies for small and diverse suppliers that are engaging in virtual environments. And in order to do that, we're going to take a look at a 3-part series. I promised Janice I would keep this down to about 45 minutes. So I might go a little bit fast. Please go ahead on the chat screen and log in your questions. I promise to take those questions and answer those in the end. All right, so the 3-part segment, we're going to talk about humanizing your interaction and prospecting. And when we talk about humanizing, it's not that we're not human when we're normally interacting with others, but now that we are in this virtual environment, we've got to find a way to still have that personal touch. And what I know about the Latinx community is that you are all about relationships, family and relationships, togetherness. So this is going to be so easy for you. When we talk about prospecting, I want you to know that you're still going to be able to go out and prospect for more business and more opportunities. That has not left us. We're going to be able to do even more of that in this new virtual environment. We're going to also talk about maintaining virtual business etiquette and ready, set, prepare. Like, how do we just get moving and get going? So for part 1, and I like to call this stay engaged by any means necessary. That means whatever we have to do, we have to stay engaged. And really what that's talking about is overcoming this impact that you and I have had, that the world has had, businesses have had, with the impact of this physical distancing, or this social honoring, I like to call it, or social distancing has caused a gap. But we can fill that gap by maintaining our face-to-face interaction. That's right. So when we're talking about negotiating a contract or negotiating an opportunity between yourself and a supplier, or yourself and a business that you're trying to do work with, you want to be sure that you are choosing to maintain that face-to-face interaction. And so what I mean by choosing, there's other communication mediums that you can choose. Like, you can make a phone call, you can send email. I'm asking you to choose the face-to-face interaction for things like critical updates or negotiation. And we'll talk more about that later. You want to continue to develop these relationships. So you want to do your homework. And if you in the past would network with others, I want you to continue to replace your physical networking with what I call virtual networking. And we'll talk about what that looks like as well. And one of the things that I want to point out very early on is to remember that out of sight could mean out of mind. And we don't want to be out of mind. It took us too long to get on people's mind. It took us too long to penetrate that opportunity and build that relationship. This is not the time to lose the relationships that we've been able to develop. So I want you to stay in touch, anticipate the needs of your customer, and then reach out to them. And I don't mean anticipate the needs that they've had prior to COVID-19 or prior to this pandemic and this separation with us physically. I'm talking about thinking about the needs that they must have that's in scope now and out of scope that could be coming down the line. You need to think ahead and figure out what would they need from you. And I've got some tools to help you do that. The first tool is what we're using right now. We're on Zoom. And now I've used Zoom. I'm a fan of Teams, but there are so many other technology that you can use to stay engaged with not only the customers that you have now, not only the networks that you have now, but the ones that you're prospecting for in the future. So you want to stay engaged. Use Teams. What about Google Hangouts? Google just came out with one the other day called Google Meet. Google Meet. And you know what's happening? They're offering these platforms for free during this environment. So do your homework. GoToMeeting is another webinar type format. Skype, you name it. There's Slack, there's Uber Meet. The possibilities are endless. So, and it doesn't mean you have to use one or the other. Figure out which one is going to be the right one for your chosen communication medium. So maybe you're just doing a short update, or maybe you're hanging out with friends. You might want to use Zoom. Zoom's pretty fun for that. Maybe you're using Teams because you want to have a business meeting and you need unlimited number of people. It's going to be fine. The one tool that you're going to want to make sure you have and make sure you have it operating well is your camera. Your camera is your gateway to your business success. It's your gateway to developing and maintaining those relationships. It's your gateway to continuing to build on new prospects and new customers. The camera is your friend. And so we're going to talk about how to use your camera. Here's my friend, Pastor Sarah. I found this video on the website. And although she talks a little bit about church, 99% of this is especially for us. I couldn't have done it any better. So let me play this for you. Here's Pastor Sarah.
Hello, dear ones. Churches all across the country this week are rolling out their church programs on Zoom and moving all their meetings online. And I thought it might be helpful to have a quick introduction to Zoom etiquette. So first of all, when you're seeing your friends from church on Zoom, it's helpful to have you in the center of the frame, not somewhere else, and your entire head included. It's kind of distracting to have a meeting where someone's talking like this, and likewise distracting when you can only see the top of someone's head. So you're going to want to make sure that your entire head is in the frame. This past week will also go down in history as being the week we all found out exactly how much nose hair our pastors have. So maybe don't angle your computer like this. When I'm setting up for a Zoom meeting, I literally just put a stack of books on my desk to raise my laptop up so my head is in the frame. You also don't want to have your Zoom meeting like this. You'll notice my head is a very small percentage of the overall camera frame, so people can't see my expressions. It's hard to feel connected to your friends when they're a tiny little blurry dot. Likewise, it's really weird when people have their Zoom calls extremely close. Some people have a separate camera from their laptop that's set up somewhere else, maybe off to the side of their computer. It's kind of disorienting to have an entire Zoom call with someone who's looking at you, but somehow you're not making eye contact with them. In other words, please look into the camera. If there's a window anywhere behind you, you're going to look real dark and the window's going to be distractingly bright. So if possible, face the window when you're on your Zoom call. This is much better. If you're using your laptop's built-in microphone, you should probably know where that microphone is, so that when you're rustling papers, you don't accidentally brush up against the microphone itself. It will sound so loud to the people listening. Anytime you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. If you're using Zoom, there's a mute button at the bottom left. I don't know which way left is for you. If you don't mute yourself, we will hear your dog barking in the background. We're going to hear your spouse shutting a door somewhere in the house. Just the background ambient noise is so distracting. Muting yourself when you're not speaking is basic Zoom politeness. If if you're doing Zoom on your phone, don't walk around the house like this. It's really disorienting and the people watching are going to get motion sickness. Now, whether you're using Zoom or Skype or some other video conferencing software, there will usually be a little panel with your picture in it, a preview of what you look like to others. Keep an eye on that out of the corner of your eye. Don't spend the whole meeting staring at yourself, but look at it now and again so that you can tell whether or not your head is fully in the frame, or if you've drifted into a position where people can't see you and your greasy forehead is the highlight of the entire call. Speaking of grease, you might also want to make sure that your camera lens is not greasy. That's the fastest way to make yourself look like you're the star of a soap opera. Have I mentioned that you should mute yourself when you're not speaking? Remember at all times that people can possibly see and hear you. Don't get up and go to the bathroom and take your laptop or your phone with you. Oh my God, I mentioned you should mute yourself if you're not speaking. You can turn off your video at any time. That doesn't necessarily end the call. That said, an important part of Zoom etiquette is that if you're in a video call and everyone else has their video on and you turn yours off so you can see them, but they can't see you, after a while it starts to feel a little bit creepy. It's okay if you're just eating a sandwich, but please don't hold your entire meeting like that. It's a real act of connection and of vulnerability to be able to see each other, to look at each other's faces while we're talking. And I know it's uncomfortable for some of us. We don't like to see ourselves in that little preview box, and maybe we're uncomfortable about the way we look, or maybe we're uncomfortable about the way our house looks. I never thought we'd be having worship in the spare bedroom, but here we are. Those fancy Zoom backgrounds that can put you on another planet or in a beautiful meadow of flowers might seem like an improvement over the inside of your house. But the thing to remember is that your fellow church members, your siblings in faith, want to see you. They want to see you authentically where you are. And if your cat jumps into the frame or your house is a little cluttered, so be it. The point of Zoom etiquette is to help us feel more connected to the people we care about. There is, of course, an adjustment period for all of us as we're moving into this new way of meeting and doing church together. So I wish you all luck and all the technological blessings that you need to have church. Take care. Hello, dear ones.
All right. So
churches.
Let me move on. So listen, I always enjoy hearing Pastor Sarah and think about some of the things she said. You want to really think about when you are engaging with your family and friends versus when you're engaging in business environments. And social distancing doesn't mean we need to be antisocial. It means that building relationships is still as important as ever, and we've got to choose to do that. So in order to do that, we have to become one with our virtual platforms. And by the way, I always enjoy when those kids and dogs come into the frame. There's a time and place for that. And I'm telling you, even during business meetings, it's so natural. People understand today. When you're having a business presentation or a proposal, you want to make sure that you control all what I call outside noise. And we'll talk about what noise is. But first, here's some information about Zoom. Remember, Zoom's top free features, up to 100 participants. You can have one-on-one meetings with a family member, or you can have all of your family in a group meeting and have unlimited meetings and enjoy it. If you're looking at Teams for a more of your business meetings, and that's what we use here at Kent State, we use Teams. They have unlimited maximum number of users. And you have guest access for those that don't have a Teams account. They can just come on into yours. You can actually collaborate on a document and work together in Teams. So you don't have to stop doing business at all. And by the way, Teams has over 250 integrated apps that you can use. So when we're now talking about humanizing our prospecting, at first we were talking about humanizing our interactions. Now let's move on and talk about prospecting. What do we mean by that? We're talking about getting more business, new business, additional business from existing clients, or more business from clients that we've never done business with before. And here's the things that you're going to want to do. You want to always be answering these two top questions, no matter what. What need can you meet with your products or services? Or what problem can you solve? And now that we're in this new environment with this pandemic, the need that you can meet has probably changed. and the problems that you need to solve could have shifted and changed too. So really start to think about that. But in order to do that, you need to know the best medium of communication. Sometimes it's important and appropriate to send an email. And there are times when a simple phone call will do. If you have the cell phone number, sometimes a text is appropriate, but I'm glad you asked. We are here to talk about virtual live interactions. And the reason the in-person is de-highlighted there is because we're not really operating in face-to-face right now. So remember, when you're using these platforms, you'll be able to upload your capability statement by sharing your screen the same way I'm sharing my PowerPoint now. You can upload, share that capability statement, use your pen for your laptop or your marker, and highlight the areas that you want them to focus on. Use this tool for your advantage. You can upload pictures, you can share your screen, and then come back face to face. This tool can actually bring you closer than you would have ever been able to get when we were in the face-to-face environment. So it's not that we have lost anything during this COVID-19 pandemic. As a matter of fact, this has actually opened the doors to even more connectivity. I'm closer to you right now than I've been before. And you can also get someone on a Teams call, on a Zoom call, and you can be face-to-face with them and be closer too. So in order to do that, we want to talk about what I call the study of our words and how we use them and our digital body language, right? So when I say digital body language, is we're using this live environment. Push back from the camera in a way Pastor Sarah said, show your hand gestures. If you're thinking, look like you're thinking, be actively listening, nod your head, use the chat box and not interrupt when you want to speak, because guess what'll happen? The person that's speaking, their face is going to be the one that's highlighted in the video on the screen for everyone in the room to see. And if you just say, yeah, or I understand, next thing you know, you're going to have the camera front and center on you for the next 5 to 10 seconds. And you've already stopped talking. So be sure to use that chat screen and have attentive body language. Lean in, read your audience. You can still see them. So read what you think's going on with them. Have expressive body language and expressive listening skills and show them that you're still there. Now we're at part 2, and we're going to start talking about virtual business etiquette. Yes, Pastor Sarah talked a little bit about etiquette, but remember, they can see you, so don't check your teeth in the camera. Now, with virtual business etiquette, I want to talk a little bit about a video conference call, a teleconference versus face-to-face. Let's take a watch at this 4-minute video, and I'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for being here on time. Paul? Hey, Paul, can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Tyler.
Sorry I'm late. Having a hard time connecting.
1 second. Paul's having a sound issue.
I can't hear you. Try adjusting your output settings. Can you hear me? It's the gear icon.
Tyler, are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
Yeah, what? Never mind, I got it. I just had to change a few settings.
Great. Maybe we can get started then. Oh, great.
I think your mic is speakers. My mic?
Do you have headphones?
You want me to put them on?
No, I want you to smell them. No, I want you to put them on. Hey, Beth.
Hey, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I had to download a new version of the platform.
You should plan extra time for the updates. There's pretty much one every time.
Sounds like someone just joined.
Hey guys, it's John. I had to call in. I'm stuck in traffic. Have I missed anything yet?
No, it would have been nice for you to join the rest of us, but we'll see you when you get home. All right, while everyone is here, finally, Tyler, do you have that financial report?
Well, it's been the last few weeks updating our books, and I got some great news for you. Schedule from this point last year. We had a great Q1.
We lost Tyler, I think.
Am I frozen? Hey, Trip, I think we lost Tyler.
Yeah, I know, we lost Tyler.
Hey guys, it sounded like Tyler was cutting out.
We know, John. All right, while we wait on Tyler, why don't we go over all of the reports from Beth, are you with us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everyone, I know some of you have to leave soon, but I just wanted to go over a couple of the queries before. Okay, excuse me. My wife's out of town this week. Daddy's, I'm so sorry. Okay, you just spilt grape juice on the carpet. Daddy is in a meeting. Tyler, can you go over the numbers one more time, please?
I thought Beth had an adjustment. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that's my iTunes.
Hey guys, hang on. I'm gonna join in. Hey, what platform are you guys on? Skype? FaceTime?
It's in the invite.
Oh, never mind. I see it. It's right there in the invite.
Okay, now I can see everybody. Let's reschedule and let's just do a regular old conference call, okay? Paul, can you have David send out the 9-digit passcode?
I heard you.
Yeah, he's been here the whole time.
All right, everybody. I'll see you later. Like a lot of video conference calls.
All right. So what I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I always do. Couple things we want to point out. So whenever you're invited to a video teleconferencing call and you have to call in from the car, this is how it sounds on the other end. And then you can get frozen or, you know, all of the distractions. And what actually did happen at that meeting? Nothing. They spent the entire time trying to overcome the distractions. And guess what? That was a meeting where you were trying to sell your products or services. So you want to be sure that we block out all that noise. We're going to talk about noise in just a minute, but before that, let's talk about virtual business etiquette and how we're maintaining our professionalism in the virtual environment. And that's by our physical appearance and our presence. You know, we need to be sure that we're in business attire when we're going to be virtual or business casual attire. And that means no jeans up top. I mean, unless you're that guy, you know, you want to be sure that you don't get up. If you've got jeans on, don't stand up and walk away and the camera's still on you. But try not to be too busy with your jewelry and fancy words on your t-shirt. In other words, let's have what we call waist up proper attire. Background noise. We talked about that a couple times, and here's what it is. Yeah, it could be the dogs barking. It could be children playing, although they're both so adorable. But background noise is also what's in the foreground and what's in the background behind you. And what's in the foreground? Remember Pastor Sarah talked about making sure you're front and center in the frame? That's foreground. Background is what are we seeing in your camera view? You know, it's not just that you're on the camera. I'm looking, and I'm not talking about meeting with your family. I'm talking about a business meeting. I can see everything behind you. It will be distracting to me. That's called noise. What about a broken internet connection or improper lighting or your cell phone ringing or house phone ringing or doorbell ringing? These things break the channel of communication. Speaking of which, let's talk about this communication channel really quickly. It involves what's called encoding and decoding messages. So let's say right now I'm sending you a message. I am the sender. I'm encoding my message to you today, talking about this virtual environment. You're decoding what I'm saying. And if I were asking you a question, you would decode what I've asked, and you would determine the words that I'm saying and interpret that, and then you would give me feedback. That's that little feedback loop at the bottom. Then at that point, you become the sender of communication. And then I will be decoding what you're saying, trying to understand the message that you're giving me. That means that throughout this feedback of delivering the message and getting the feedback, we're using what's called a communication channel. That channel can be an email, a chat box, whether video conferencing like we're doing right now, can be a phone call, it can be a posting, a text message. Determining the proper channel for your message is very critical. Noise happens when you're delivering your message using one of those channels and it's not getting to the sender, to the receiver, or the receiver not able to feedback information to the sender. You want to minimize noise as much as possible. Remember, not just physical noise. You want to make sure that you have a great connection on your internet connection. You want to make sure that there's no problem in sending that text, that your call didn't drop if you were on the phone. So these are all important factors when we're talking about noise. Again, the types of noise is the internet connection, is buffering or call dropped. Maybe linguistic barriers, language accents, or the use of slang can be noise. What's around you? Remember foreground versus background? That's environmental noise. Physical noise like sometimes people use those stand-up desks. It's not that a person that is in a wheelchair has physical noise. No, physicality, physical, that's just a logo to show us what we mean by physical. A standing desk, and you're having a meeting, and people who stand at standing desks tend to sway and move around and sometimes even walk away from in front of the camera because they're just so comfortable and they forget that they're actually on camera. And then paralinguistic noise. This is the tone and pitch or rhythm of your speech or the nuance of your speech. And so I am speaking, and English is my first language. It may be your second language or first language, but I may not be able to be clear enough, and I may say things in ways that you can't understand me. I have to be careful that I speak in a way that you can understand what I'm saying and at a tone that you can understand. And that's what we mean by noise. Other parts about virtual business etiquette is paying attention and being actively present, right? So mute your mic if you're not talking. Don't pick up and take a call while you're in a meeting, and make sure you're looking forward at all times. The camera is on you. It's a teeny tiny thing. So you want to look at that camera like you're looking at your best friend, and you want to make sure that all your nonverbal cues and nonverbal interactions is positive, because that comes across in the camera. Here we're telling you to be prepared for anything. And that means you may get a business call, and you may be at a coffee shop. You may be a part of a meeting where there's other people there. Remember, we were talking about if other people have their cameras on, you want to have yours on as well. So be prepared for that. Make sure that you are appropriate. If you're in a business day, that you don't have to say, well, I don't want to share my camera because, oh, my hair's a mess, my house is a mess. You know, honestly, we know we're engaging in business, so we need to wake every day prepared to engage in our business. I get up every morning and I prepare myself for work as if I was walking into that building, but I'm walking out of that bedroom right into my office. I am dressed prepared for the day. Let the day bring what may, because I'm still in my business mind. I'm executing in my business mind. The last part of this presentation is called Ready, Set, Prepare, right? And the best way to communicate that you are nimble and agile and flexible is to come prepared to that meeting for everything. Now, here is something that it came in my inbox one day a few weeks ago, and it was from a company. I don't know the company, but they sent me an email, and I like this, and I pulled it out to share it with you. And it says, you know what? We're still open. We have to use our communication channels to let others know that, hey, we're still doing business. We're still open. Be creative in how you do that. Under Ready, Set, Prepare, you want to be sure that you know your customer. What is your customer purchase? Who are they currently doing business with? How do you line up with them? How do you compare with them? What's your competitive advantage? Find out what challenges your customers facing now during this change in the environment. Maybe they have some unique needs that you have thought about upstream and you have an answer for them. You want to make sure that you share with them, you know what, I've got some ideas. You know, Kent State did that recently, where one of our companies that took part in our Kent State Turner program shared with us that, you know what, I think I can save Kent State $1 million using solar. We listened to that diverse supplier. We listened and gave him an audience and meetings, and that meeting led to other meetings because they were thinking about our unique needs. It went all the way up to the Board of Trustees, and effective December 2019, we have adopted solar on all of our 8 campuses, and that business owner didn't just save us $1 million. That business owner saved us $6.3 million over a 20-year period. And that's because he was in tune with us. He was looking to see how he can make a difference, right? So you want to be able to say how you can impact the bottom line of your customers. Here is a tool that I've designed just for you. You want to use these virtual meetings to check in. It's a 4-step process. And here's step 1. You have an existing client. And here's what I want you to do. Write this down. So grab a pen and paper. Step 1. What should we start doing for you? We've not done this before, but things are different now. What should we start doing? Step 2, what do we need to stop doing? Because, you know, now that we're in this new environment, we don't need everything that we used to have before. So tell me, what should we stop doing? And then What are the things that we've been doing well, and you want us to continue doing those things? Let's list those. And then finally, what is coming upstream? What's coming down the pipe? What's in scope and that is going to be coming in scope soon that we can prepare for, we should prepare you for, and we can prepare each other for. Your customers would love it if you were to ask them that. Remember earlier I talked about engaging by any means necessary. You know, when you would normally go out and I just love the Hispanic community, and I love your relationship building and your familial engagements. You love to get together. You don't have to stop getting together. We can have a virtual happy hour, right? You can enjoy a coffee and chat, or just shoot the breeze, or catch up on what's happening in the community. You know, share your bucket list. Have a cup of coffee or a drink with an umbrella. You know, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? I'm not telling you to drink while you're on the clock. It's 5 o'clock, but you can still sit down across from one another using this virtual tool. So there are 6 rules that I want you to keep uppermost in becoming a virtual conference baller. Okay, the first thing is to be aware of your video settings. Remember, Pastor Sarah told us, be very keenly aware. Make sure that your room has proper lighting. I've got lighting on my left, I've got a window lighting on my right, and I've got lighting coming from the top right now. Be sure that your foreground and background, your wall art is appropriate. You want to mute your microphone and introduce yourself if you're coming into a room. Be one with the camera, right? You got to mute that mic though, because whenever you're not speaking, even though you're alone, it can be disruptive if noise happens. So it allows you privacy. Don't forget that your video camera is on. Don't take your cell phone or your laptop to the bathroom with you. And be sure that your camera's not too high, not too low, and that you are in the center, because people can see everything. And remember, overhead lights are great, natural lights from a window, but you also want to brighten up yourself. You want to, dressing an appropriate attire is going to be very important. And if you're wearing a collared shirt, choose a light color, pastel color, because it actually brightens you up. And make sure that you are in proper waist up attire. Remember, your wall art is important. Limit amount of clutter that's around you. You want to make sure if you're meeting at the kitchen table that you don't have a lot of dishes that were used before, you didn't get a chance to put them in the dishwasher. Just make sure that things are clean that's around you, and set up shop in a room that you wouldn't mind others seeing, right? So here's a little checklist for you. I thought it'd be great to provide a checklist so you can remember. Introduce yourself if you're in a group call. Make sure you mute your mic, look into the camera. Don't forget to smile. Don't talk over others. And the chat box is actually your friend. There are free tools everywhere right now. So get on Google, start looking for those free tools to engage in virtual environments. Just plop that in the Google line item or Google search, and you're gonna find many free business incentives. Stay in touch with others, and they'll be so happy to hear from you. I'm gonna turn it back over to Janice. Thank you so much for allowing me to bring this presentation to you. I am a fan and a friend of the Hispanic Business Center, really good friends of Janice. And my time is up. I thank you for yours. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen right now so we can engage in conversation.
So, Veronica, you did amazing. I didn't even have to text you.
I know, thank you.
Well, under your time, I can't believe it. And that was amazing information. We were all chuckling, and my staff, actually, we were texting on Teams on the videos and saying, okay, this is Beth and this is this person, because it feels like we've made all of those common mistakes when it comes to remote learning, but we're all also learning, right?
Yes.
We're all learning. We're used to being, interactive, especially when it comes to like cultural circles, right? We are very much a one-on-one. So this whole virtual business is new to a lot of us, actually, even some of us that are a little more seasoned, but it still feels new because we're doing it all day, all the time. So we're definitely opening it up for questions from Veronica, so you guys could come in, but I was going to ask a question from you and kind of get us started. My first question was, how do we manage the amount of time that we're spending in front of the screen, right? Like, what are your suggestions? Because, and I'm asking for everybody, but I'm asking for myself. One, I'm glad I wore pink and a collared shirt, so I was like, oh my God, I got the checklist.
You got the checklist.
but thank you for the tips. But
Yeah.
how do we manage being in front of a screen for such prolonged periods of times? Because it feels like the most thing that I hear people say is like, oh my God, I'm tired of the computer. Or I've been on the screen yesterday. I had a day that I had back to backs. So any recommendations that you could give, whether it's on scheduling or just how to, how do we manage the volume of screen time that we have to work?
Yes. Yes, that's a great question, Janice, and that's exactly what's happening to everybody. We are having so much screen time. And so you hit the nail on the head when you said manage your time. So you want to plan ahead for the screen time. I plan my schedule or my daily calendar around when I'm going to need to have screen time, and I also plan office maintenance. I plan reading. I've got to read material. I've got to respond to emails. We chunk those. So if you think about responding to emails, maybe first thing in the morning, maybe before lunch, that half hour before lunch and a half hour after lunch, make that your respond to email time. And then you're going to want to do it again at the end of the day because there's things that could have come in. And then you want to block your screen time. So block the times that you're going to be on screen face to face. And so that way you're actually scheduling yourself to get up out of the seat from behind the camera. And, since we're working from home, let's take advantage of that. Sit down on the couch, put your feet up to do your reading. We don't have to be at our desk and available to the screen the entire 8 hours of the day. And what I really like, I think I mentioned earlier, I get up and I report to work like I was going to work. And I just keep my day in that 8 to 5 frame. And I do that because when I'm off work, I want to be available to my family. We've got to be so careful that this doesn't overconsume us, that we're not working from 8 until 12 at night. And then our families don't know when they can interrupt us. Likewise, when we take those breaks and like, oh, I'm working from home, I could stop and do 2 hours of this and I'll just come back, I'll just do it later. That extends our day and it makes us feel very overwhelmed. So that was a great question. Chunk your day, schedule your time in front of the screen, schedule time to respond to emails and time to get that reading and planning done.